Hello, 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 everyone. How are you? Hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day, and may peace be upon you. Thank you for joining my show. Yes, I can. This is your host, Dr. Istihar Jamil, and today I have the inspirational, the fabulous, the spunky Razia Naqvi Jukes, who is a top running photographer who's based in London. She's taken pictures of influencers, celebrities, change makers, leaders. Her pictures have been seen on hundreds of media, including French Vogue. So, Razia, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, so lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Razia, we're going to be talking about the usage of photographs, powerfully, beautifully storytelling photographs to raise your business, to raise the authority, to create the warmth and the connection and attract you high quality clients from beautifully photographed that is just it's just beyond the selfie. That's what I wanted to say, isn't it? It's the storytelling. That's what Raza does. She's a master at storytelling using images and beautiful photographs that convert. So Raza, let's start off with this, right? What made you pick up the camera, first of all? You don't just like snap here, snap there, triangle going there. What made you pick up the camera first and foremost?
Well, my story started about 10 years ago, probably longer than 10 years, 15 years ago,
Mhm.
where I separated from my husband, and it was a real shock to my system. I didn't see it coming, I didn't expect it, and I was in a very, very low stage in my life. I was very depressed, very depressed.
Mhm.
And basically, picking up the camera, I don't know, I still don't know to this day what made me pick up the camera, but I picked up the camera and I started taking photographs of my children
Mhm.
because I wanted to create beautiful images of them which captured their childhood in the most beautiful way, so that I
Mhm.
could have this story and show them when they grow up that I know you're hurting. I know this is a very bad
Mhm.
time for us. I know you're hurting, but it was it this is was your childhood. I did everything to make it as beautiful as I could, regardless of everything else. So yeah, it was about trying to have something to show them when they get older and say, look, this is how it was beautiful. And it really raised my whole it took me out of depression, and
Mhm.
it helped me see how beautiful my life actually was. And I was so
Mhm.
grateful for my children, and it lifted me. So yeah, made me very grateful.
That is amazing. Kind of in the midst of adversity or breakdown, you found something, a tool that, I mean, you've been guided to a tool that's helped you to kind of heal or make you feel good or have a way to see the beauty in things. Despite, it's kind of like a tough time for you and your children. You've got three children. So it's kind of like a tough time, but you found a tool. And now that tool has evolved now beyond family pictures. And then you move from taking pictures for your family to going for weddings, beautifully storytelling wedding pictures. And then you go now into venturing into branding photography, which working with celebrities, influencers, change makers, leaders. So tell us, kind of like in your transition, right? When entrepreneurs such as myself uses pictures that are professionally taken, not just professionally taken, but have an edge of storytelling to it, compared to I'll just take my phone and do a selfie. What is the biggest things that you've seen that make an impact between those shifts? Because I know when I started Rising, I just took selfie of myself because that's how I just started. It's fast, it's quick, it's easy. I didn't necessarily understand the power of having storytelling images that convert. So can you tell us what are the biggest things that you see in the shift when you move from selfie to professionally storytelling images for the brand?
Well, I suppose it just as an echo from my own story. So when
Mm.
I picked up the camera, I was able to tell a story, but it was more than a story. It Those images gave me a voice. And I
Mm.
think that's really, really important, because it gave me a voice and it told so much about me and my children without meeting me. You could have a look at those images and you would know. You know how we judge within the first 10. You pick up so much information, and so basically it's an expansion of that. When you have a professional storytelling image, you are giving your brand, your message, a really powerful voice, and I think that's really important to know. And when we look at an image, people take so much information from it, and you don't even realize you're doing it. You know, you don't even you don't realize that you're picking up, you're thinking this about, you're making a judgment within the first few seconds of a person. So just, I mean, you know, just to give you a bit of evidence on that, I came across a study that was done in 2019. And it was a study where they asked 240 people to have a photograph of the same person. There was a selection of photographs of the same person, and they had to rate that person out of 10. I know it sounds awful.
Isn't it? It's like a big block, isn't it?
They had to rate that person out of 10. So for instance, they had to rate them on competency, likability, and influence. So they had to give them those three things. So first picture they were showing was a selfie. And then the second picture of the same person, they would be shown a professional headshot. And now on average, people chose from the selfie for competence, chose 5 out of 10. So it's not bad. It's not bad for competence. But then when they showed a professional headshot of the same person, the competence level and influence level went from a 4 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10. What a jump of the same person. So it's not like, oh, you know, this person, this person was really glamorous in this shot, you know, and then, you know, it's literally based on selfie versus professional headshot. And that's how much their influence went up. So for me, I would say it's really, really important to give
it's impactful
voice and be impactful. And very instantly. It's like sometimes you can spend years building impact, can't you? And there's lots of strategies involved with that. But having a professional photograph is a very fast way to accelerate your influence and impact and authority.
Absolutely. And just you like right on point of that, and especially if you're going to go for media or publication, publicity, speaking engagements, because I've just recently been featured on the House of Preeminence magazine, which has like 1 million views with high influencers. And thank you. And guess what? The editor says, Izzy, I need lots and lots of pictures of you right now. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, thank God, like Razia actually took my pictures last year. That's right, early last year. I'm like, instantly, Razia, they wanted things fast. Like if I haven't got that in my in my fingertips and give them selfie, they're gonna kick it out because it's high profile, right? You've seen it for 1 million. You can't just have selfie to it. I think this is kind of like, I have it in my tool, Razia. So within minutes, because you've given me like, 100 pictures or so, right, from our photo shoot. This is what I think that people are missing, that they expect those people to send over photographers to them, or they just send like a selfie, which is really crappy. I'm really sorry to say, but it just doesn't work, isn't it? Kind of like, to talk to us about that kind of like quality, high branding photography. Your pictures was in French book. It takes a whole new level to have that kind of magazine kind of endorsement. So what I want people to know is that busting through that myth that I can just send selfie to media, or I can just have a so kind of thing. Or you've seen a lot of the images, right, where you in front of a laptop, like I'm like that. It's like so boring. Like for example, one of the things that Razia took, this is like what Razia took for my pictures. She took this for my client Gabby. So it's kind of like, see, the like Raza will always say, is the energy, the colors, the brand that is print quality. So talk us through about that, Raza, and creating kind of this kind of mood, and where is it? Like those kind of things that is a reflection of who you are as a person, who you are as a brand. And then with Gabby, here we are, like gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous thing. So talk us through this masterpiece that you create with women using the brand as images.
Well, so firstly, if you want to get into the media, like you said, no credible top media outlet will print you, will write anything about you unless you, or promote you, unless you have professional images, you know, because it's a reflection on what they're producing as well. So they want to keep everything high quality. So yeah, so you need professional images, if you need professional press shots if you want to get into the media. But so the whole process is, it is a process for me to, so when I speak to a client, the first thing I do is I really want to understand who they are, what is their essence, what is their message, and what they're trying to create from their brand. What do they want people to feel about them when they see their photograph? And I talk with them at great length, just getting to know them and asking lots of questions. And I love, that's one of my favorite bits, is like chatting to people and connecting. And I feel that as soon as I feel that connection and I feel I really understand what they're about, we start creating ideas for what we want these images to look like. We do it together. It's a joint process.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about colors, brand colors, the psychology of colors, the way those colors reflect meaning. By wearing certain colors, we don't even realize there's a psychology behind it. So, you know, and that's all part of the story that we create. And we'll talk about props. We'll talk about why we need props in order to create the image, as we did with you, Izzy.
Yeah, so I'm just, you know, kind of like showing, and let's say, you know, this top, you know, like we discussed that we're gonna wear you know, beautiful bright colors, so no black. There was no black in my shot at all, so beautiful bright colors. I don't know if you can see, you can grab a copy of some, but you know, there's props of what do you call this, flowers, there's books and magazines, kind of like, and you know, and I will talk about, you know, the thing that you did in that photo shoot. But it's kind of like building the story, isn't it, Razia? Using the colors, the props, the pose.
And everything has to have meaning. Everything is a symbol. Yeah. So it's not just any old book. Like, it has to be a book that is relevant, you know. So obviously you have a big, you know, you publish books. So we used your books and we made sure that those titles were able, you were able to see them in the shots. Even the flowers in the background, they had to be on brand, didn't they? They had to work with what we're going to wear. And they had, the colors had to work. And so there's lots of, with the props kit, there's lots of messaging going on there, a story within a story that people don't realize, but it's information that we're taking all the time. And those cues are called non-verbal cues. They give us messages all the time about that person without them having to say anything. That's very powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's just a subtle way, because like you said, you know, people only have like 3 seconds or so, right? So you kind of like have to think about it. I don't even think it's gone to 3. I think it's just 1 second right now. It's like 1. Oh yeah, okay then. So it's like even in videos now, or it's like the 1 hour, the 1 minute, 1 minute golden rule, or even in reels, it's the first second. Now I feel that it's just the one thing that people, you have done with people. But it says, for example, a lot of my pictures of me smiling, we tried one with me having the power pose. It didn't work because it wasn't my kind of, it was, it wasn't kind of my naturally am. It worked for Marin Tango, which is one of the people, that celebrity that you photographed, because she's here, that not silent, like a strong female kind of exactly, a kind of character person. But me, I'm always like smiling. As you can see, I'm always like smiling kind of thing. The colors and everything, the prompts, and then showing kind of like my TED talk. I was recently gave a TED talk quite recently, and one of the things that I asked, we need a photo of you, right? And obviously, like no crappy photos, right? So if I just show everybody, this is where I spoke, TEDx on women. You can check out my TED talk, Coming to America. The story of a story of a hijab wearing woman. So there are the speakers. So there are some of the speakers. You can see the photos, and then there's me. And then there are other speakers, other speakers, other speakers, other speakers, other speakers. So you can tell the look of it, right? Kind of like you need something, and they don't give you like the whole month. They're asked within 24, 48 hours kind of thing. So like, this is what Razia and I have curated, the hijab, the color, the smile, the pose. It's a clean headshot because we feel that whenever it's a headshot, it's a clean, there's no, what do you call it, busy stuff? It's just clean, right?
Yeah, it's just having a nice, clean image that really shows off the essence of you, your personality. And we can bring out your personality. I mean, if you're a serious person, like you said, like, with a different client, it would have been a different technique. It's really capturing who they are. And I feel when I look at that photograph, I really get a feel of who you are. Yeah, and that's really, really important. And that's actually just reminded me of another little story that I have of a client that I recently photographed. I did a headshot for her. Very simple background. Her brand was all about empowerment and reinvention, and her brand colors we chose together were orange, really bright, vibrant.
Ooh.
Yeah, oh, she looked amazing, and she was wearing this beautiful orange dress, and we found really some lovely light, a nice clean background, and I took her headshot, and she put this headshot on a website with other coaches. She's a coach with other coaches who are offering the same sort of services as her, and then people get to choose, or like if they're looking for a coach. Said to me, when she used my headshot, she was able to book 17 new clients in the space of 2 weeks.
That is incredible.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? And they said they chose her because they found her picture really warm and inviting, and it made them click the button and think, I really feel like I can speak to her. It broke that barriers. And I feel that your picture on the TED platform there does the same thing. You can really feel who you are.
Yes, and then you kind of just reminds me, that's exactly what the curator, my TEDx curator, Sonali, said to me when she introduced me. She's like, when I think about this next speaker, the first thing I see is her smile, because I'm always smiling in that.
Yeah.
She does. I've never met her. Do you know what I mean? Like, but we've seen each other, obviously doing the training and everything. But the first thing I see, even when I gave her the picture, I gave her 2 pictures because I wasn't sure like what she's looking for. So I gave her 2 pictures, and she's like, what? Seeing you smile just makes me happy, kind of thing. So it's kind of like that. What Razia, you're talking over and over and over again, which is knocking down the barriers, building the connection, creating the warmth, and everything in between in that context, which is depending on your brand, isn't it, Razia? Because my brand is always going to be. So I'm just going to turn on the lighting. My brand is always going to be, it's always that, the joy, the happiness, the freedom, the inspiration. And then I also wanted to talk.
I feel that when somebody sees your image or any headshot, they have to feel connected to you, because if they don't feel the connection, they won't message you. You won't get that message going, oh, I'd love to speak to you more about what you do. You have to break that barrier. And I think a really warm, nice, inviting image that really captures your essence, because they almost feel like they know you before they've contacted you. If you have an image that has that feeling, it's like an energy that you're giving out through the image. then yeah, you're going to get more people contacting you. And that's exactly what happened with my other clients. And I've heard it time and time again. It breaks barriers, and it gives you instant trust and authority.
Yes.
It's huge, which is like, what other medium can do that for you, you know?
Absolutely. And kind of like, and I really wanted to kind of like share the thing that you actually cracked the code with that makes my life. Look, I met Razia in London, I think 2019, Razia, roughly 2019. I think it was February 2019. And I knew she was a photographer. I'm like, oh, I want to write to take my picture, and but for some reason that did happen, and then COVID started, and we were trying to figure out whether you come here or I go there. And then I was pregnant then, so it wasn't like I wasn't flying. I waited for the whole year for Raja to take my pictures, kind of thing. And she literally cracked the code. You cracked the code because of distance and travel. Like nobody wanted to take that unnecessary risk of traveling. So you cracked the code of doing virtual photo shoot and all this. This is printed magazine, high quality. All this are like virtual.
I
So
know.
I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to tell all the secrets, but tell us how this has helped helped so many entrepreneurs like myself and my client Gabby to still have access to you and your mastery around storytelling imagery. Tell us like a little bit about that and how you've gone from without physicality now you've like virtually and still we can still accept you.
Well, firstly, it was so important to me that if I was going to do something, I have to do it to the best of my ability. I can't half do anything. There's just no half with me. It's I'm all in or I'm not going to do it at all. And I had heard of some photographers that were doing virtual shoots. And I saw how they were doing it. They were literally just taking a picture from the screen with their main camera. And I thought, no, you're not going to get quality like that. That's not going to good qualities, and only a few handful of photographers were doing it, and I just thought, no, it's not for me. I've got to find, if I'm going to do it, it's got to be better than that, and you know what it's like taking a picture from a screen with another camera is you get like,
so you have the screen and then you use your camera to take a picture from that
that's
screen.
what they were doing, and I thought, no, that's just not a good, that's what there was some and for me, I just thought, no, I'm not going to get involved in anything virtual. That's just not quality enough. That is just not good quality enough. I would not do that. And then as time, I just thought, let me just delve into the virtual shoot more, because it will give people more access to me. There's no, we can't fly anywhere anyway, but but if I was going to do it, it has to be the best quality I can do in order, like almost the best, as good as having me there, really.
Yes. I mean, you were there, you were there, you were there. You were in London, I was in California, but you were there.
So I developed the technique. I found a technique that, and it's literally using phones, where we use phones, and I'm literally art directing you from my side. And we've already talked about, what part of the house we're going to use, what locations we're going to use, what we're going to wear for each shot, for each background, for it to look, beautiful. So once I discovered and really and fine-tuned each shoot, I started and each shoot got better because I learned from the last and fine-tuned it to a point now where I think, this is it.
Yes, you've cracked the code. Exactly, you've cracked the code. You've cracked the code when you were with me, and it literally is incredible. But obviously, it has to be stated that the quality of the phone that you have makes a difference. So if you have like an iPhone 4 compared to if you have an iPhone 13, that's going to be a huge difference. But still, regardless, right? Kind of like, I mean, because you tested it, right, with someone who had like an iPhone lower and an iPhone like.
Yeah, I used an iPhone 8 for one of the shots. I mean, I didn't. So basically, the quality of the images is very, in terms of print quality, is very reliant on the camera the client has on their phone. So if they have, my advice is iPhone 10 or above. Yeah, anything below just seemed not good. Just yeah, it wasn't quite.
Yeah, it wasn't hitting the point. It wasn't hitting the point.
Talking print quality in terms of having something that is printable. Yeah, so I recommended iPhone 10 or above, and the rest is art. The rest is creating the art and the image. So it's a combination of yeah, the poses and the light and what you're wearing, and then me directing you and you feeling comfortable with me, and having this connection going. So yeah, the rest is art. But in terms of the camera, the model's camera, the client's camera has to be, I'd say, iPhone 10 or above.
Yes, and if you have other brands apart from iPhone, it has to be, you know, kind of like similar kind of like resolution that the iPhone have. And you touched something really important, Liza, which is having like you know, you as a photographer, or whoever that you choose to be a photographer, like being really comfortable, being really safe, being really at ease. And that's exactly what I felt about you. I've had other people taking shots of me. You know, there's a male photographer, there's female photographer. You know, the man, I'm like, I'm kind of like awkward, like, you know, kind of like it just feels. You know, some people are fine, like awesome with that, but for me, I just feel like, like now I have to do put my bum out. Like it's just like it would have been like, you know, it's a little bit uncomfortable to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But talk us about that critical point of having a photographer that not only you trust, but also you feel safe, you feel comfortable, you feel at ease. Because some of the poses gonna have you having your bums out, isn't it? Or you're gonna be lying down, so you gotta feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think it's a very understated. I don't think people don't realize how important liking your photographer is. If you like a photographer, if you feel comfortable with your photographer, if you trust your photographer, and you think, right, I'm surrendering to this, I'm just going to trust that they're going to do, you know, I'm just going to do whatever they tell me to do. I think that's really important, because if you're looking awkward in the photographs, it doesn't matter how good the lighting is, it doesn't matter how good what you're wearing is, it doesn't how good we've made set the scene, you know, it doesn't matter. If you're sitting there looking awkward, that image is like dead. It hasn't captured you, you know, it has to capture you, it has to capture you and your essence. And I think that would be my first tip for anybody looking for a branding photographer. Find one that you like, find one that you feel connected to, find one that really gets your vision and your voice and, you know, what you want to achieve. I think that 100% is it would be my number one advice, because if you don't feel that, it will show in the pictures. It will.
Yes. Yeah. And one of the things that I love, that the way that you create the art and the masterpiece, which is so beautifully mastered, is that you've captured movement, you've captured emotion. Like for example, with Gabby, with her here, and then Gabby with her in the movement, in here, kind of it's the movement that you kind of like captured. Again, her laugh, her smile, you know, kind of like, wouldn't you want to know that person like this? And then also, the studio thing. So one of the things that you've mastered is having a lifestyle phase versus studio kind of thing. So I don't know about this one. You know, I'm sorry, girls, but I know it's a beautiful picture, but I feel that this is like a studio kind of photograph. It could put, whichever way you go forward, it is your brand, isn't it? But I'm talking like Razia, she captures movement and lifestyle. Even with me, this is done at, my home, in my carpet, in my garden, in my garden again. So talk us about this studio versus lifestyle, movement, nature-based photography that you're so passionate about.
Well, I think with the studio photography, I suppose it can capture your personality, but it doesn't show your environment. It doesn't show,
Uh-huh.
there's no storytelling in a studio photograph.
Mm.
Yeah. Whereas with the lifestyle pictures that I do, it's all about capturing you, your story, who you are, and that your surroundings, and the surroundings that we use will tell the person so much about your brand that you don't even realize. So even though you've just shown two pictures, but one, you've got a real connection with that person because you can see the surrounding more. And I feel
Yeah.
movement is really important because for me, I think, I mean, not everyone's a professional model, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
Nobody is except for the
like a model, they just, anyone can take a picture of the model. They just know how to pose, and they're perfect and they're wonderful. But for us normal people, do a lot of those poses that the models do is really hard. So I found that creating poses that require movement and are natural are the ways of making you look like a supermodel. It's a great way of hacking into a pose and feeling natural and looking good in it. No one wants to look like an idiot in it, do they? Like, they want to look.
it's like no restricted,
It
no,
needs to
like,
look.
like kind of that, I'm comparing, so sorry, but I'm just, kind of like them. So she's in a studio, beautiful, beautiful pictures. And then I don't know whether you can see me with the movement, in
Look
my
at you,
garden, like
girl.
flitting around,
Yeah,
having a
yeah,
laugh,
exactly.
smiling.
It's
Obviously, there's a different purpose when you go for a studio. There's a particular reason. Obviously, that's like or there's the specific reason why studio is always going to work better in certain circumstances. But there's also why lifestyle is more, is suited more,
yeah,
exactly, impactful or connecting in certain ways of the others. Um, so I kind of like wanted to kind of like hone into the fact that it doesn't matter. What matters is your brand, right? What your
yeah,
voice is, how you see yourself, how you portray yourself. Me personally, this is like my workplace. This is where I work. This is like my living room. This is my garden. So it is a part of me that I can ground or get like I feel safe when I'm at home, right? It's crazy with the kids, but I feel safe, I feel connected. So I can play, we play a lot, we laugh a lot. So Raza, what's kind of like, let's wrap this one up and kind of like say, and the many influencers and change makers that you worked with, right? What did you see that kind of like the one thing that when you take their pictures and obviously how they use it and everything, what is the one thing that you've seen that comes out of that, whether it's their confidence, whether it's like getting the clients, it's kind of like a little bit of tangible results that you see, tangible or intangible, whether it's the confidence, whether it's getting the attracting. I know like one of that lady that attracted like amazing clients there or builds up the authority. So what is like, one of the biggest things that you see happening when people work with you and using like storytelling images powerfully?
I think confidence is a really good point that you picked up on, because if you love your images, you're more likely to use them on social media. You're more
Mhm.
likely to send them off to to see if you can get an article with the press. You're more likely to use them, and the more you are confident with them, the more likely to use them, which makes you more visible, which makes you start doing things more. And that's one thing that I have noticed, that when you've got a great set of pictures, you show up more, you
Mm.
post more, because you've got a great bank of photographs that you love and you feel really connected to, because you feel they represent you. So definitely confidence is number one. More clients is number two, because it completely elevates your brand in the quickest way possible, compared to a selfie. So, it gives you more influence, gives you more
Yes.
authority, compared to using pictures that are selfies and just done on your phone. And yeah, so I would definitely say you get instant authority and trust. The more you show up, the more you build trust, and people will get, you get more clients that way. People will connect to you. So it's all about building connection. So you can't, you know, it gives you the foundations that you need, that are ready to go and be visible.
Absolutely. And what a wonderful point of view. What a wonderful thing to wrap this up. And last question of the day, Razia. What is one fun thing that you do that people don't know about you? And you can't say like, you know, watering your plants or like gardening, because I know you have a green thumb. So what's one fun thing that I know you sing in the kitchen as you're cooking. So what's another one fun thing that people don't know about you?
Oh, well, I love dancing in the kitchen while I'm cooking. And I randomly, I'll start singing a song if I hear a verse, or if I'm not a verse, if I hear a word that reminds me of a song, I'll start singing it, and then my children will start joining in with me, and we'll have a little bit of a sing along. It's so random. So that's, I'd say, yeah, it's a bit crazy. I'm a bit crazy, but hey, you know, my kids all do know that about me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Razia, for chatting with us. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and the lesson learned. And, you know, the way that you've masterfully crafted this art is absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Razia, for joining me today. Thank you so much, listeners and viewers, for watching the show. So the next episode, this is your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. Tell yourself, yes, I can. And so it is done. Okay, Razia, say bye. Bye-bye.